Hello everyone and welcome to the IGN UK podcast.
Woo! That's better anyway.
I'm Chris. This week I am joined by Dan and Gav.
Hello.
And we're back in Glasgow at the Glasgow Film Festival. So we want to thank the festival for inviting us back. Last year we went on for much longer than we should have done, and I'm surprised we've...
Yeah, they said you can come back, but if you don't do the last 40 minutes when no one understand what you're saying.
So we'd promised to do a tight hour this year, and we won't have Mark Miller talking and talking and talking and talking.
Or telling just really weird stories as well. Because by the end, I've listened to that back, and by the end, the stories you'd be like, he definitely shouldn't be saying
Yeah, it's like, the problem with Tom Cruise is...
So we thought we'd kick off by doing something a little bit Scottish.
Yeah.
So I asked the guys to pick their favourite ever Scottish video game character. Is that a weird thing to start with? I didn't think that would be a thing
Stevie
until
silence from them, just like, motherfuckers.
I googled it, and there's loads of features about the best ever Scottish
Yeah,
game
can I
characters.
point out one of the features that you found?
Okay.
It is actually code. I'm not going to say what name of the website is, because that would be unprofessional. Be unprofessional. It is called, the URL is Okai the New, it's gaming's greatest Scots.
All right. So let's see if we can do this in a respectful way. Gavin, who is your favourite ever Scottish video game character?
Like, favourite is a really odd one, but I think the one that I most enjoy is in the new Tomb Raider. There's a guy from Glasgow in that. Does anyone remember this? Yeah. Is that a good Glasgow guy or a bad one? Because for me, it was pretty bad because every second of the way he happens to mention that he's from Glasgow. It's like, he's got a knife to his throat and he's like, did I mention I'm from Glasgow? You got a knife to your throat! Like, what's that about? Like, he's just constantly dropping it in. And like, as someone who pretty much crowbars into every sentence where I'm from, I sort of...
Where are you from? No idea.
I'm from Wales.
Oh, really? You never mention it. Never bring it up.
Like, I sort of got a taste of my own medicine because he just mentions Glasgow a lot, even though Glasgow is obviously an amazing place. But yeah.
Okay. Daniel, who is your favourite ever Scottish video game character?
So I lived with two Scottish people for about 5 years. You know.
Scotch, I believe they like to be called.
Yeah.
Two Scottish people.
They love that.
Yeah.
So I know the Scottish people, and I hate like the way that they're kind of parodied and stereotyped in media.
Well, why do you keep doing impressions of them in the office?
Because I'm a racist. So I'm going to go for the character because I hate that sort of like. I wanted to like pick a like kind of nuanced character.
Okay.
So I'm going to go for a character that's in a Mortal Kombat rip-off called Kasumi Ninja. And the name of the character is Angus McGregor. And this is from the official character description for Angus. He's a blacksmith, as I imagine most people in Scotland
Most
are.
people in here are, right?
Blacksmiths. I think that's quite a common profession here. The constant pounding of hot iron made Angus a burly man. And then he says, Angus always won easily and soon became obsessed with fighting. His fatality, because it's a Mortal Kombat ripoff, he headbutts his opponent's head so hard, he headbutts their head off screen. And he lifts up his kill to unleash a fireball.
I want to see that tonight. Can anyone in this room do that?
We should say as well, so we've got some question sheets which have probably been handed out. If you have any questions for us to say at the end, bring them up and just drop them on the front of the stage there and we might read them out. But yeah, do that. Because
that was the only good bit of last year, was the questions, if I'm honest. I don't really play a lot of games, because my first one was Scrooge McDuck. And he started off in cartoons. So I've gone for not a person, but the Highland level of Lemmings. Has anyone played that? They play Scotland the Brave. There's a lock in it.
Okay.
I think there's some bottles which I think might be whiskey, which I don't like that.
Yeah.
And it ends with the Loch Ness Monster. So everything you can want in a Scottish level.
I'm not sure if you saw on the train, but when we were coming up, we went past like a really nice bit of water. I went, oh, look, it's Loch Ness. And you went, is it? Did you actually think it was Loch Ness?
No, I'm not. I'm not a fucking idiot.
I thought you genuinely
Because I knew it was Loch Ness because Ted Danson wasn't there.
As soon as we passed over the threshold to Scotland, you bought an Iron Brew.
Yeah.
Pathetic. Right, let's get on to the real subject. Video game movies. There haven't been many good ones, but we talked about it in the office the other day and realised there actually have, if you think about it and come at it laterally.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the greatest video game movies that have ever been made, and Daniel's going to start by talking about adaptations.
Yeah, so the thing about adaptations is, like, I looked at like all the video game movies, and the first one of kind of like the modern era is, so it goes from 93 to 94 to 95, you get Super Mario Bros, you get, I don't know why I said bros.
Bros.
Stupid thing.
You've been hanging out with Rory too long, man.
So I just read it then, what a twat. Double Dragon, Street Fighter, and Mortal Kombat, and I look at them and go, if I was making a movie, they're literally the worst games to adapt.
I don't know, man. The Mortal Kombat film is good.
No, but like all those games.
With Christopher Lambert, and plus
but you
amazing
play
song.
none of those games based on story or character, which are things that you can translate into a movie.
Story, fair enough. Character, no, though. Like Mortal Kombat, you play character for.
They're not characters though. They're like kind of shells of characters. They're like Angus
Scorpion?
McGregor.
What are you talking about?
But they're like they've not no backstory. These are like the worst movies to adapt into the worst games to adapt into a movie
Yeah, I
because
guess
you've
so.
got to fill in all those gaps. You play Mario.
Yeah.
Because of the mechanics. You play a fighting game because of the mechanics.
Yeah.
People might go, oh, I play Mortal Kombat for the story. You do not.
Wait, that's
You play it because you get to rip someone's head off.
Yeah, someone said
and
that.
you're a psycho.
Like Dale said that on the podcast that's going to go live this week. He's like, oh yeah, the story mode in Street Fighter 5 is like, it's not there. It's only half a story. Who's playing Street Fighter 5 for the story?
Yeah. Hey, so if you're going to adapt that, you've obviously got a tremendous amount of work to do from the get-go. You've got to create characters, which, as you're doing that, you take it further away from the source material.
Yeah.
And you can't adapt what's good about Mario, obviously, into a movie, because it's jumping. Like, nobody's playing that game, the story. The story is a pretense for you to face obstacles and to negotiate them and get to the end. So
Isn't that what every movie is, though? People that face obstacles and then
yeah,
negotiate them?
but then why does it have to be an adaptation of that thing? Because if you're greenlighting these movies, because people like Mario, they like it, but not for that reason.
Yeah.
And then they'll go to it and go, that's nothing like what I enjoy, because you can't put that in a film, because it's like trying to paint music.
Yeah.
You can maybe approximate it.
It's deep.
It is deep.
Is that 2 pints?
Wait till a few more of these. But you could approximate it, but you're not gonna you're gonna lose what is distinct about it.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
people like playing video games.
I feel like you're listing bad ones. I've sworn to people we were going to do good
well,
ones.
we're going to talk about the process of adaptation,
Okay.
and then so we're going to go on to like some of the okay ones,
Okay.
like that was the first wave, and then we go into like the early 2000s. We get kind of like Tomb Raider, we get Resident Evil, and Silent Hill, and movies, and Prince of Persia, the movies that kind of do okay, because I think what you're happening here, you've also got games are evolving in that time.
Yeah.
So you've got games that can slowly start to do story in a meaningful and decent way. So there's more for the adaptation to latch onto. And that's maybe why you get better game movies as time goes on.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
the source material. It feels like you're disagreeing with that.
I'm not.
Have we got good ones though? What have they been? What in your opinion?
He's
has
like,
been the best? I'm gonna keep
maybe.
pushing this.
Just checking Twitter.
I'm going to keep pushing this though, because that was definitely the name of the section.
Okay.
What is your favourite game adaptation, or what, in your opinion, has been the best one? Same thing.
I think, I don't know. Like,
It's
I think,
hard. This one's harder for him. In our sections, we've actually got genuinely good films.
We've got some
whereas-
feedback though, haven't we? Some people have
Yeah,
written
like
in and
people
actually
like lots
picked-
of stuff. Like people like so. This is from Colin Furs, who says my favorite video game movie is Doom, starring Dwayne Johnson. I'm aware.
Who calls him Dwayne Johnson?
Sorry,
I think
Colin.
people are laughing at Doom.
Sorry.
Gav.
Well, ultimately, I think people are laughing at Colin. Sorry, Colin. My favorite. Yeah, he says Doom. I'm aware it's not a great film. But the first person sequence is amazing and captures the essence of the game it's portraying.
It's all right.
But it doesn't though. Like that, I would think it doesn't because you put it in first person. But
So you're talking about people laughing at you or Doom or Colin. I actually went to the first screening of Doom, and people laughed at someone who was in the audience because Dexter Fletcher's in that. I don't know if people know who Dexter Fletcher is. If you don't, Google him.
He's here tonight, so
I won't tell the story then. He's in it and he's terrible in it. He plays a guy in a wheelchair. His accent's terrible. And he brought his nephew to the screening. It was quite a small screening. Every time he was on screen, people laughed. And he ended up leaving with his nephew because he was so embarrassed.
his nephew's like, "Why are you a joke? Get off! Come on, let's go."
He's a really good director now.
Yeah.
He's directed The Eagle, which is coming out this year. It's really good. So it
we
has a
should,
happy ending, kind of.
Yeah, we should forward him on Colin's email.
Hang on, what?
Even though Colin does say, "I'm aware it's not a great film," so he gives and
I didn't know
takes.
that. I didn't know he directed Eddie the Eagle. That's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well done, Dex.
I hope he doesn't listen.
Dex. So this is from Adam, who says that his favourite video game movie is Resident Evil. Action-packed, interesting, and not too ridiculous in some of the sequels might have come. He sets
a
a
bit
high
with a laser,
premium on
like-
ridicule.
There's a bit where the laser cuts a guy into cubes.
Yeah.
Not too ridiculous.
Not too... a little bit
Not too
ridiculous is
ridiculous.
fine for Adam. Not too ridiculous.
Nah.
there's another Resident Evil, isn't there? Another Resident Evil fan.
Yeah, so this is the thing where, this is Scott. Scott has written in, he said, I would like to put forward Resident Evil Apocalypse. The way that they bring Raccoon City to life and incorporate fan favourite Jill Valentine into the movies is fantastic, with some great action sequences. And he says, like, the depiction of Nemesis is great. And I feel like this is the problem with a lot of video game movies is, obviously people who've written into us are people who like video games a lot and want them to be very faithful adaptations of the source material. So he cites the fact that the bad guy in that movie looks very like the bad guy in the source material. But that does not make a good video game. Same as the first-person sequence in Doom. Yeah, that's interesting you've done it first person, you kind of going, oh, this is what it's a bit like in the game. But that's not what you like.
I think that's entirely the problem with Resident Evil. The movies are good adaptations of the games, but they're not good horror films.
Yeah.
It's a good horror game, and it just doesn't quite work. They shouldn't have been so slavishly sort of loyal to it.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, I think in the time that Resident Evil has also lost any sense of its own identity.
Yeah.
There's no template. Like, the movie's actually been more consistent than the games, if anything.
Yeah.
It's been one of the most successful movie series, though. You've got Tomb Raider, you've got Resident Evil, and Prince of Persia are the ones that have made money.
Yeah.
What did you say about Tomb Raider early on the train? Because this is amazing. What IGN gave it.
Oh yeah, look, so I was doing some research on Wikipedia where all the best research is done, and
doing research on Wikipedia about our site.
On a train, tethered to my phone, going, we prepared. So the IGN review for Tomb Raider gave it a 0, which I didn't even know had a descriptor, and the descriptor is disaster. Well done, you've made a disaster. Yeah. Which is usually a natural phenomenon, but you made it.
And yet, if you adjust for inflation, I think it's probably the most successful video game movie there's ever been. So.
It did really well, yeah. Actually, so a couple of years ago, when the Need for Speed movie came out, we did some stuff with Aaron Paul where we got him to play Need for Speed Rivals, I think was the game at the time.
He didn't want to, though,
with
did
Dominic Cooper. Yeah, because he was shit. It's
No
like, do you want to
one.
play Speed? No. Yeah, big gamer, me. Yeah, big gamer. Do you want to play it? Can do. He's never said Xbox.
He's like putting the controller in his mouth. This is how you do it.
Yeah. So we basically went to this screening room to like set it up, and we were going to get him to like take Dominic Cooper head to head. And there was some kind of setup time where there was like, oh, do you want to speak to the director? He really wants to speak to someone. It's like, well, I don't really want to speak. Like, we've mainly come for Aaron Paul. And he sat down. I had not prepped for this guy whatsoever. Didn't know really who he was. Thought it was his first movie. He sat down. And like, I was chatting to him in like cinema chairs while we were like playing the game. And I was like, well, so why do you think there's been a great video game movie so far? He was like, actually, I made Tomb Raider. Oh, yeah. Well, if you let me finish. Apart from Tomb Raider. What do you
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it was, and we filmed it, so you can see how horrible that actually is.
She's just like crying, like one tear, like the naked Indian.
Yeah, but his movie made $200 million, so he's fine.
Yeah. There have, however, been some good documentaries about video games.
So this is what. So basically, we split this up. Like Daniel took adaptations. I took documentaries because I generally think the good thing about this is about video game documentaries. The best ones, anyway. There's been quite a lot of them, but the best ones are ones that really focus itself. So take like a snippet. It's the same with best like documentaries, where they take a snippet of a world and really, really focus in on it. And some of those like video game documentaries being the same thing. And I think like Indie Game the movie for me, like a lot of people sort of feel kind of two ways about it because it is quite twee and it is quite sort of over emotional, and the way that it's shot, sort of all sort of like really soft focus and blurry. And the characters they've chosen, basically, if you haven't seen Indie Game the movie, is a bunch of indie game developers who are either just about to release a game or have released a game. And the characters they picked are like Phil Fish, Edward and Tommy, who made Super Meat Boy, Phil Fish who made Fez, and Jonathan Blow who made Braid. They're really emotional guys. So they're really like big characters. So when they talk about like their craft and stuff, it's almost like Werner Herzog-ish because they're really sort of like over the top with it. And you're kind of watching them sort of making, especially the Super Meat Boy guys, they're talking about like putting their life and soul into these games. It's a little red dot running around getting blood all over him. And I just think like it's such a brilliant documentary.
Yeah,
Have you seen this?
I think it's really lovely. Yeah, no, I went to the world premiere. I interviewed Phil Fish outside the screening
amazing.
room. Yeah.
How was Phil Fish?
Very nice, actually. Very complicated. He seems like a complicated gentleman.
Like, imagine meeting someone, what do you take away? Complicated.
Complicated,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
really...
I think the film.
You're right, Phil.
The game, he was still embroiled in issues with the game, and
Yeah.
so like the question was what's happening with the game, and that was the last thing he wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But
because I think that was the problem with they basically embedded themselves with him while he's trying to make it, and he's really struggling to make this game. Plus, really struggling to have them with.
I've got a lot on.
Just like constantly asking him, so what's happening with this game then? Plus, he's got all these external people as well going, what's happening with this game then? Just like all sort of embarrassing him. That's kind of why he's quit life, really. But I think it's a brilliant documentary, but a lot of people really don't like it because...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
People
Sort
didn't
of like a
like
lot within games, people sort of think this is a bit sort of overwrought.
It
but
got a positive review on IGN.
that's good.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider got a disaster.
Yeah.
So.
There are some even better documentaries, though, aren't there?
There are some even better ones as well. So one actually that's not on that list but is Super Game Jam. That's a documentary series. It's a series of documentaries that was done by Devolver Digital. And basically what it does is it takes two indie developers, whacks them in a flat together and tells them to make a game in a week. And they make a documentary out of it, plus you can buy the game for it at the end. And I think like giving it a little story, giving it like an actual thing to do is a really, really good thing, and it makes for a really, really good series in the same way that Atari Game Over does. So Atari Game Over is about this sort of urban myth that there's a landfill somewhere filled with cartridges of E.T., which is widely believed like one of the worst games ever made. And they had so many cartridges left over that they had to chuck them in a landfill. And it's about these people who go out and try and find this landfill and try and dig them all back up. And I did really like that because it's a focused story. And
you like landfills.
And I like landfills, exactly. And I like E.T. And I did really like that, but...
You're like, what is this movie?
Yeah, but that film left me a kind of a little bit cold, I think. Because even though it was exactly what I wanted, which was a completely focused story, I don't know, I just didn't feel anything for that kind of journey. I was like, if they find it, I don't care. Like, which is kind of bad. But I think like there's some really like bad video game documentaries. And I think the bad ones are the ones that try and cover video games. Like, video games, people are playing them, huh? Like, and there's been so many of those, like Charlie Brooker's thing. Like, I know a lot of people who worked on that show, and a lot of people who were in it, but it's one of those things where it's just like, can you believe there's been all these video games? Like, it's like how video games changed the world, and you're watching it going, all right, give me like 10 minutes on Minecraft, and it's like, what?
Again, we probably should have talked about this on the train up. If we're talking about the good ones.
Yeah.
Let's do the good ones.
But, obviously, I think people widely believe like one of the best documentaries and best films, I think it probably would sneak into my top 10 films ever. And that's King of Kong, Fistful of Quarters, which was shown here last year, actually. In this room, I believe?
In this room?
In this very room. You can smell it.
That was me.
No, that's the hops. But I think, like, for that, has everyone seen King of Kong? No.
A few nods.
Okay, well,
if you haven't,
there will be
remedy
King of
that.
Kong spoilers.
Yeah, there will be tiny spoilers, but you should definitely check it out because even if you're remotely into video games, you will love it. I showed it to my girlfriend who's not really into video games, but it's got everything. It's got like good versus evil. It's got a goodie and a baddie. You won't believe some of the characters that they find. Like you would like some of the people who are real life. You look at these people and you go, I want to see just a documentary on that one person. I want to follow him where he goes after all this.
Well, when the film came out and got a good reception, they were going to make a fictional version of the film, and Will Ferrell was going to play Billy Mitchell, who's kind of the villain of the piece.
Well, at some point, Tom Cruise was attached as well.
But the thing is, like, no matter how wild Will Ferrell got, he wouldn't compare to what this guy is. Like, you wouldn't believe it.
Which is underscored by the fact he's real.
Yeah.
He is real. He owns in, he lives in Hollywood, Orlando.
Yeah.
Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah.
And he owns his own chain of fast food restaurants, and he owns a hot sauce business.
Yeah.
But he's also the greatest video game player of all time.
And he's also got the best collection of ties ever.
Yeah.
Mainly
Stars and Stripes.
Statue
But the hero, Steve Wiebe, who's such a sympathetic character, he cries many times during that film.
Yeah.
And I went to the first screening of that one in the world in Texas, and at the end of the film, the guy came out. Like, it got such a great reception, and at the end of the film, the host came out and said, by the way, we've got a surprise. Just sitting in the front row there is Steve Wiebe. And we all looked over and he was just weeping. Again. That man loves to cry.
Steve, you're right, mate. Steve's not coming out.
But then we all everyone queued up in that cinema just to give him a hug.
Aww.
And you would if you've just seen that film, and he's such an amazing human being.
We were just talking about it over there. We were sort of like standing in front of, we were playing Nibbler for a bit, and it's just like, he's such a really nice guy, but when he's playing it, he's so determined to do it. And there's no sort of, you get Billy Mitchell, who is this like larger than life kind of character, almost like cartoon bad guy sort of thing. And then you get this guy who there's just no pretense about him. What he is, and you completely see. And I think you really want him to succeed because he's sort of this hero that everyone kind of sees a little bit of themselves in him as well. And I think they say he's got this drive, but for whatever reason, everything that he's been good at, like music, sports, like he's never quite been able to get to.
It's actually quite a sad sequence in the movie. It's about 5-10 minutes where his wife, his brother, his friends
are
all like,
he's
actually failed at everything he's ever done. He's really talented.
They
If I was
say
watching
that.
it back to him going,
It's
do you all
parents
think
as
this?
well, yeah.
Do you all think this?
It's amazing though, but you just mentioned Nibbler.
Yeah.
There is a Nibbler documentary.
There is a Nibbler documentary. I don't know if any of you will hang around after this for Man vs. Snake.
No. There's not a soul in here hanging around for Man vs. Snake.
It's really good.
Well, let's point you in the direction of Man v Snake. It's a really
Yeah.
good film. It's quite similar in structure to King of Kong, except rather than Donkey Kong, it is Nibbler, and it's a guy trying to beat the record that he. Did he fail
To get
first
a
time?
billion
I've
points.
seen it. a long
To
time.
get a billion points. So Nibbler is one of the only original arcade machines that has 9 digits, so you can roll it over and get over 1 billion points.
Right, yeah.
And he tries to go for 1 billion points, which takes about 40 hours, I think, to do.
Christ.
It's depressing as hell, but it's enjoyable. There's this basically you're watching a guy just sit at a machine for days on end, and
I mean, the film's better than that. You're not selling it.
No, I like things that are depressing as hell. I like watching a man play a game for 40 hours.
Well, I think the good thing about King of Kong and Man vs. Snake is they obviously realise, these directors realise, hang on, watching someone play a video game, regardless of YouTubers and Let's Plays, forget about those for a second, but watching that isn't actually that interesting. So the stuff that they employ, which is like a lot of animation, is the best part. It's some of the best parts of
retelling
those
like
films.
old stuff as well, and also it's kind of. No, it's not really a sequel to King of Kong, but there's a lot of the same people carry over, like Walter Day, Billy Mitchell. The people that gravitated towards that competitive arcade scene around these classic games, they're incredible people. Like, Walter Day is a ridiculous person. I can't believe he's a real person. Same with Billy Mitchell. So they make it very interesting.
Donkey Kong kill screen coming up. Yeah, no one's seen King of Kong. Is that it for docs though?
I think so, yeah, pretty much. I've got some bad ones as well, but I'm not going to go into those because you shot me.
Because we're going to be positive.
We're going to be positive,
We've done enough podcasts about the bad ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about films that have been inspired by video games, of which there have been a hell of a lot, and some of them are actually really good.
Yeah?
Kicking off with Tron. Although I don't know I've never spoke to you guys about this. What are your feelings on Tron?
I liked it when I was a kid. Don't like it now.
What changed? Did you change or did the film change?
I think I changed.
Okay.
As a person, I've grown. I think I loved it when I was a kid, but then when I was a bit older, I think I found it a little bit boring.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of fair, because when you're a kid, you're not like, I don't know, maybe I had toys in front of me, so for the boring bits, I was just like, I'm down here now. But when you're older and you're actually just sitting and watching, I don't know, I find it drags a little bit.
It's a great setup, isn't it? The first 20 minutes, and then when they start doing the games, it's like, oh, is that it? Is that it? Is that it? And it was, I mean, the effects were spectacular, but again, after 20 minutes of watching the effect, even back then, it was like... your thoughts on Tron?
I think it's dated really badly. So if you...
We're talking about the old one, not the new one, because the new one is...
That's dated. Oh, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges' face is dated really badly. That's my main takeaway from Tron.
His face looks like it's a ghost face stuck onto a head.
I actually know someone who watched that, who watched the original, and didn't realise that was supposed to be Jeff Bridges when he was younger. It's that bad. They were like, it's meant to be the same person.
What is it?
I've got an email from Elliot O'Neill who says, having thought long and hard about it, my favourite video game movie is probably Tron Legacy.
Oh, Christ, Elliot.
Thanks for writing in there.
Are you not here, you?
Are you here, Elliot?
Appreciate it.
Okay. While the film wasn't fantastic, fair enough.
Yeah.
I just remember being mesmerised with the setting and the music. It made me want to go away and play games.
Yeah, the soundtrack is incredible.
Totally. I still listen to the soundtrack all the time. So not a huge... It came out in 82 and 83 War Games came out, and it felt like film producers were trying to figure out what to do with this new thing.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's playing games, but how do we put them on screen? How can we make money out of this?
Yeah.
And so it kind of gently feeds into war games, like this fear of people have computers in their houses now, and they're going to become hackers, and we're all going to die, and World War III is going to happen.
I think like I was pushing for war games to be on your list because I was like, I just remember even now I think it's a really good film, and I think almost like another film, but I won't mention this on your list, but like it takes the culture of video games, and like this is a kid who just loves playing video games and then actually has to apply that in kind of the real world, and I think that's kind of everyone's dream, isn't it? You'd be like, I'm really good at this game, so now I can do it for the army.
Which feeds nicely into
Exactly.
two films that came out in '84, one of which I grew up on and loved, and one of which I never heard of till a month ago. So the first one is The Last Starfighter, which I think is the best video game movie that isn't, adapted from one.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, it's about a kid. It was made in 1984. It's about a kid who lives in a trailer park. His life's going nowhere, but he's really good at this video game, in the one video game on the trailer park, and it's called Starfighter. And it turns out the video game, the arcade machine, has been put on all these planets all over the galaxy to find the best starfighter to fight in this cosmic battle.
Yeah.
And
it's basically the plot of Pixels, if you've seen Pixels, but not shit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a lovely, amazing, inspiring, fun kids movie.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really stood the test of time. Like, I don't think people talk about it anymore, but have you watched it, Dad?
I think so, but when I was a kid, I can't really remember it.
Oh.
I loved it.
So that's the end of that. So
it's like one of those things where you like when you're a kid and your parents are like, you shouldn't play video games. Like I could save the world. That's what I could be doing.
And the other one is a film called Cloak and Dagger, which I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
But it starred Henry Thomas, who was in E.T. It came out a couple of years later. And it was kind of, Atari got involved because they were developing a game that was similar to the plot, and so they kind of fused. And it's a really good kids' adventure movie where this kid gets embroiled with these spies. He ends up killing people, which is always good in a kids' film. And
he's like got a gun to his head, he's like crying and swearing, I don't want to.
But the character, it's weird. The character from the game appears in real life and starts kind of mentoring him.
Okay.
And it ended up being more successful than the game that it was based on. So I don't think it ever got a release in the UK. So Cloak and Dagger is well worth a look. I found it on Amazon and bought it there. But recently we've had some really interesting ones. 2010 we had Scott Pilgrim.
That was awesome.
Based on a comic book. Yeah. Oh, Scott Pilgrim fan.
Yeah.
You seen it?
Based on a comic book, but a comic book that's inspired by video games.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love the comic book, I don't love the movie. It's got a real cult following, but for me, it just felt like, once you realise what the structure is, where it's a bunch of end-of-level baddies, once I've seen 3 of them, and I know there's a bunch more to go, I got a little bit...
Yeah, I guess so. I can kind of see that, but like I was a really big fan of the comic when I saw it, and I don't know. I just for that it was for me when I was watching it, I was thinking this is a perfect adaptation. There's nothing that I don't think is bad about this, and I think because they had like the Fountain Fairy like music and things like that, and I don't know. I just loved it.
It was clever. Really I think for me as well, my problem was
funny as well. It was a really
Michael
funny
Cera
film.
wasn't my Scott Pilgrim. It was one of those films where the character I'd read on the page wasn't the guy that I saw on screen, and so that was bugging me.
Really, I think it's like perfect casting.
I love the rest of the cast.
Like a lot of people don't like Michael Cera. I fucking love him.
I like him, but he wasn't the Scott Pilgrim I had in my head.
Who would you have? Do you have anyone in mind?
God, I had a Dan.
Yeah? I would have done it. What was I at the time? I was 16. I wasn't doing anything. I would definitely have done that.
And you were 16 in 2010.
You were not.
Bull.
Rory was 8.
And also, it's that tournament structure, though. You were talking about this, Dan, about how sometimes a game structure doesn't work for a movie.
Yeah.
So it's a tournament, effectively, which is why Street Fighter didn't work, which is why Mortal Kombat, for me, didn't really work.
No, to be fair, like, I do love the Mortal Kombat film, but the thing that it just doesn't work is just like, oh, we're fighting in this tournament. Yeah. We'll just fight now.
Well, I know we're talking about movies, bringing that slightly back to games. Those old structures have stopped working for games.
Yeah.
Like games that try to tell ambitious, complex, nuanced stories. Should we do a boss now?
Yeah.
Why? Why should we be doing a boss now?
Yeah.
And there's games that recently got berated for doing that because it's kind of, an inherited thing. This is something we
Yeah.
feel like we should be doing because players expect it, even though it runs counter to maybe a story beat you want to hit.
Yeah, definitely. Like people, like I really like The Last of Us, and people hail us. It's like amazing game, but Last of Us is still has that shitty thing where you walk into a room and it's just like, oh, there's a bunch of crates here, and I can open them up, and there's loads of ammo. And I walk out, and there's a giant room. It's like, I wonder what's coming through those doors. Oh, it's a giant mutant. Like, why have you got that in this? Like, it doesn't. Oh, and then later on, 2 giant mutants. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, get rid of that. Like, I know what you mean.
2 more that I think are good. 2012, Wreck-It Ralph. You guys fans of Wreck-It Ralph?
It's all right.
I like the first half an hour.
Yeah.
I really like when they really. I like that concept of them all kind of working together and having a shared workplace.
Yeah.
You see everyone, and then the last.
It's like a not quite as good Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then I think it becomes really sickly when they're just like
Sugar Rush is when
running
it
around
goes
in
wrong.
chocolate.
Fucking sugar
Yeah,
rush.
not a fan of Sugar Rush.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the beginning bit is brilliant, and then as soon as they go into Sugar
Candy Crush.
it could be anything. It could be any world ever. It could be any game. Like they could have done the entire thing there, and it's just like I don't get that. And I think trying to import the the thing, like I was like, this is so convoluted. I just don't care.
You want to see more of Zangief, like in
just
AA.
Zangief and Bowser drinking his coffee. That's all I want.
Well, I heard from the director they're going to do a sequel.
Excellent.
So maybe they'll figure out what they did right and what they did wrong.
Well, I think that's right.
I would
I
watch
think-
a sequel. He certainly said they're talking
Yeah.
to Nintendo about getting Mario. Although I'm not supposed to say that yet.
Done, mate.
If you, don't, no one write that down.
Well, I think
Yeah.
with
Edit that.
I think with Wreck-It Ralph, like obviously the first one is like building up trust, and I think it did well. So I think now video games publishers will be like, all right, you can use that character.
Yeah.
It's lovely, yeah.
Exactly.
Especially
Although,
definitely Nintendo. Does anyone like write a blog or like tweet or anything like that? Get that out there.
I mean, who knows if they'll
Does
get?
anyone have access to the internet?
Who knows if they'll get Mario? Moving on. Final one. Edge of Tomorrow. Oh, that's a good one. Got a good one from the audience. So, obviously, Tom Cruise movie, invariably called Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
What was
All You Need Is Kill.
All You Need Is Kill. Multiple names.
That movie with Tom Cruise.
Based on a Japanese novel, which was written by a guy who was trying to take what he loves about video games and put it in a movie. So it's respawning, it's regenerating.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of end-of-level bosses as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really interesting idea for a film, but is it kind of the ultimate reason that why maybe a video game doesn't work in a movie when you've got these rules in video games that don't apply to films?
Again, I think that boils down to what you're going to seize upon to adapt into a movie. Whether you're going to go, like, if they make a Last of Us movie, if you go Uncharted, those are games that have rich characters and storylines you might want to adapt.
Yeah.
That's just kind of like a classic video game mechanic.
Yeah.
And I think you can work it up into a cool movie that's a bit of fun, but while I think that movie does a really good job of exploring that mechanic and why it's interesting to learn from your mistakes, I don't think that really gets to the essence of what a good video game is.
No.
And I don't think any movie can. Just as no movie adaptation of a good book can work out why you really enjoyed reading that novel, it can maybe relay that story in a new, interesting way, and a dramatic way, even a better way. But I don't think it's not going to be the video game, because if you like games, you like them because you're interacting, you become that character, you're mastering the system.
Yeah.
I think that's something that will always be lost in translation.
Yeah, and I kind of think that, like, you know, with this like Last of Us stuff, you play Last of Us, and I don't know about you guys, but I whacked that game down to easy, played it through just for the story. I was like, I don't care about this game and shooting monsters and shit. I don't care about that. Like, I care about the characters and the storyline. But when I'm watching a film of that, what am I watching? Am I going to watch the entire thing? Am I going to watch like a reimagining? Am I going to watch them in a different situation or something like that? Like, it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, yeah.
It's an interesting year coming up, though. Warcraft and Assassin's Creed are coming out.
I think they're both going to be shite.
Do you?
I think they're both going to be really bad, yeah.
Well, I hope not.
I hope not. Like, I really hope. I really want to like Warcraft. I love the idea of like seeing things from the good and the bad side. I think that's going to be a really big thing in the next couple of years. And I kind of trust Duncan Jones a little bit, even though I wasn't a massive fan of Source Code. But it feels like there's so much love going into that film. But then another film that had a lot of love going into it was like the Daredevil movie. Like Ben Affleck loves Daredevil and going into it. And I think, I don't know. but yeah.
Yeah. So Michael Fassbender doesn't give a shit about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
So I think Assassin's Creed, like that director knows how to make a good-looking movie, and also
he did Macbeth.
Yeah, and what
Lush,
they're talking about that movie is, regardless of what you think of Assassin's Creed in terms of gameplay, obviously one of the weakest aspects of that series, because it's all supposed to be like free running and climbing and stuff like that, and then you're just headbutting against the chimney for 2 hours.
Someone down there whispered, as you said, Macbeth is like, you're not supposed to say that on stage. What are you doing? Well, you just jinxed us. What's going to happen now?
It can't go any worse than it's already going.
And that is a cool concept for a movie series. Like if you said, here's this cool thing where you can go, it's kind of like the TARDIS as a story proposition. You can go anywhere, do anything, have fun. And it's kind of like the Matrix. You can go into any like historical period and tell a cool sci-fi story.
Yeah.
As long as they don't get bogged down in kind of the convoluted stuff and lore that the games have done. I think it's not bad. Like, and Fassbender's good, and I think the director's a really impressive director. So
I think if you strip it back to like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, like those are interesting stories, I guess, before lots of different lore and stuff like that.
The problem with that is the first Assassin's Creed, you're playing it, and all that stuff with Desmond that gets like retroactively like kind of shit upon is like because it never paid it off. It's like Lost.
Never.
It's like saying all this cool stuff, and you're always going, what does all this stuff mean?
Why can't they have kids?
Is this going to be like pay off in the sequel? And they don't. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing at all. So if they've like laid that down in the film, then that might be more satisfying than the games have ever been, story-wise.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's going to be good. The Angry Birds movie. People are laughing. I've seen some of it. It's really, really funny. It's that kind of thing in the way that when you heard they were doing a Lego movie, and it was like, oh, I'm not going to watch that, and then it was really good. It's not going to be that good, but I've seen. I've got to preempt. Got to preempt.
Balance that out.
But what I saw of it, the half hour I saw is one of the funniest half hours I saw of anything last year.
Really?
So don't write off Angry Birds. Yeah, do you not know
What the
this?
hell?
I mean, you've told me this before. I think we had a conversation about it.
Yeah, they've got
IGN,
really good
right?
writers in. They've got brilliant writers in from Community and Saturday Night Live, and then all the voice actors.
Were they
Yeah,
pigs?
don't write it off. Yeah, but they didn't want to spoil it, so. Although I haven't played the game,
when you actually watched the movie, like the screen, were there actually pigs in the foyer?
Piglets.
Piglets.
Yeah,
What,
live
they
piglets.
let you have a piglet on your lap while you're watching it? Chris.
No,
Sorry,
you
chicken-
can go
chicken
and
nuggets
pet a
out.
piglet. You can go and pet. Anyway, we're getting really off topic. In fact, let's
Chris
move
will
on.
not watch a movie unless he has a piglet on his lap. It's a really weird rider.
Can I get a blanket? I don't want anyone to look at me.
Can we talk about the Glasgow Film Festival
You're
before
okay, babe.
yes.
we get to the feedback, of which there seems to be very little? So if you have a question... Last year we had about 30 questions. If anyone's got anything and you've got given a bit of paper, please write something down, because we're dying up here. So we're each going to pick... Well, there's a bunch of great movies playing this last couple of weeks at the film festival, and we're each going to pick our favourites. So, Gav, do you want to say what you like best?
High Rise. I saw this last night and I absolutely loved it. Like, I think the last bit, I think, in your review, I think you said, kind of goes off a bit, but I think the setup and the characters, and it just looks incredible. I think it's Ben Wheatley's best film, and I like a lot of his films. It looks brilliant. The soundtrack is incredible. There's this Portishead cover of SOS, which is just amazing and isn't out yet, which is incredible. But everyone is brilliant in it as well. And it's really, really darkly funny. And it takes a lot for me to laugh at Jeremy Irons, but even Jeremy Irons is funny in it.
Be honest though, is it just because of half-naked Tom Hiddleston?
And Sienna Miller, yeah. Both of them together, like, it's pretty good. You see a lot, if you're a fan of Tom Hiddleston, you see a lot of him.
A lot.
And Luke Evans, actually, as well.
I was going to say, who isn't a fan of Tom Hiddleston?
No, I know. But he also, Luke Evans has got, like, these amazing sideburns in it. And he wears a vest at one point. And I'm telling you, he's going to be our next Wolverine, I reckon. Just because of that, he looks incredible.
I hope not.
And what an accent. What an accent on that guy. Where's he from? Oh, yeah, Wales.
Can I ask a question about the previous topic?
You can.
Yeah.
Like, you were talking about like video game movies you think are just alright, but you didn't actually mention anything you think are good. What about-
King of Kong, Last Starfighter.
But actually, give me straight adaptations.
Oh.
what did you think of Final
Okay,
Fantasy
so
VII?
for the audio, we've been asked what we think is a good video game adaptation.
I actually don't think we've had anything better than okay.
Do you think there's a good one?
Final Fantasy's First Within, I think, is the best one.
Oh, that's shite.
Again, for the audio, that was Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Do you think it was really boring?
Can you write down your questions and then we can get them on the mic?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries. It was a bit boring though.
It's really boring.
Gav, what do you really think about it?
I thought Prince of Persia was okay. And it's one of the most successful ones. But it was just a bad Mummy knockoff, which was a bad Indiana Jones knockoff. So Silent Hill was a bit
I
frightening.
think a lot, like you look at them and go, oh, they got this visual right, they kind of did that scene, but a lot of them don't really hold together as overall kind of movie experiences, I think, because I think they mistake what's kind of appealing about those properties.
Yeah.
They go, oh, it's Pyramid Head for Silent Hill, it's this imagery, and that movie has really scary imagery in it. But, you know, I watch a lot of horror movies, and I like horror movies, but I get way more scared playing horror games because I feel genuinely threatened because I'm person controlling said character. I'm
Yeah,
not
of
just
course,
identifying with them. I am that person.
Yeah.
I am vulnerable.
I think some people that really got it are the guys that did the Street Fighter Legacy short, which then they turned into a web series, which they're working their way up to trying to make a movie. They're going to do a couple of web series coming up. But a guy called Joey Ansari, we've supported on IGN because we like what he does, but he's someone that loves the game and has figured out that you can't just adapt the game, you need to tell a story.
There was that Mortal Kombat web series as well, wasn't there? It was J. Michael White playing Jax. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
So maybe the best stuff is happening in these online shorts and not in the features, and someone needs to take a chance on someone that is really coming in, understanding both mediums. Which I think that's been the problem. It's been people that understand one or other of the mediums, but not the pair.
I think if you get that, like Duncan Jones, like he plays Warcraft, he plays video games. I think he's sensitive to that process of taking one thing to another and making actually a really good film in itself. And the problem comes when, like, I also think a person who has no knowledge of the source material, like with Assassin's Creed, sometimes it could be a benefit. They're not trying to like go, we need to do a first-person sequence. We need to get that bit in Assassin's Creed where there's an eagle or something. Like, nobody cares about that if it means you're going to make a better movie.
If you stay true to the spirit of the game, I think game fans will be, that's enough.
I think you're right as well. There's a UK like YouTube channel that they like raised a shitload of money on Kickstarter, and they've been doing like Dragon Ball Z short films, and like they're huge Dragon Ball Z fans. I spoke to one of the guys, and they're like massive Dragon Ball Z fans. And when you watch the films, you can tell they know every single thing because it's just like the characters move in the exact same ways as the cartoon and stuff like that. And I think that's what you need. You need someone who like really loves that stuff and really knows that world to maybe do it. Maybe Warcraft would be good.
Dan, your favourite film at the festival? Because it's my favourite as well.
My favourite film is Green Room.
Yeah.
You need to all get excited about
So
Green
Green Room is excellent. I really like movies that are kind of set in a single location.
Yeah.
Because I get attached to rooms. No, Die Hard, like Dread, that kind of single location movie. Room.
Yeah.
Cheery one there. So it's about a band who play this kind of gig and they can't really escape the venue for reasons I won't really go into for fear of spoiling the movie. And Patrick Stewart plays the bad guy in the movie. And I don't think I've ever seen Patrick Stewart play a role quite like that.
What did you think of Patrick Stewart in it?
I think he's good.
I thought he was good. I thought his accent wasn't
His accent's bonkers.
terrible.
Oh, was he doing an accent?
Yeah.
I really initially.
I think
So
that's the
initially,
thing.
that is literally the point then, because initially I thought he was, and then I thought, oh, no, it's just Patrick Stewart, isn't it?
Does that happen, like, when you get to, like, a certain... Because it feels like when actors get to a certain age or a certain sort of notoriety, they can just do... I'm just doing my voice. Like, what voice are you going to do today, Anthony Hopkins? I'll be doing my same voice.
Yeah.
Like, but you are going to be playing Odin. I'll be doing the same voice.
Mainly doing the Ian McKellen voice today, because I am Ian McKellen.
It's very good though. If you like early John Carpenter, like Assault on Precinct 13 or The Thing, something like that, it's.
And also, if you're a big fan of Stanley knives.
Spoiler alert.
That's not a spoiler. They're making a car for their mum.
Yeah. It's really squeamish. I watched it on Monday and had to leave the film, then go somewhere really bright. And the nicest place I could find was an Apple shop. So I just walked around an Apple shop for about 10 minutes, just talking to the really nice, smiley people, just to recover from that film a bit. And it worked. So make sure you're near.
And you got locked in an Apple shop.
Yeah.
And the one I like that I really recommend to people is a film called Sing Street, which is coming out in a month or two, and it's a musical, which is not my thing at all. But it's set in Dublin in the 80s, and it's about a kid who, he's about 14, he has a crush on a girl who's about 17, and the only way he can feel like he can get to her heart is by starting off a band. And so he starts off the worst band you've ever seen. But they shoot their own videos on VHS cameras, and as the film goes on, they progress with their videos, and first it's Duran Duran inspired, then Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
It's just a really funny, lovely film. The songs are actually quite good. It's the guy that wrote and directed Once, if anyone saw that,
it's really
which
good.
has some lovely songs. So the music's better than it should be.
Yeah.
And it's just a really lovely film. Guaranteed to put a smile on your face, Gav.
Nice. When you were a kid, what is the most embarrassing thing you ever did to try and impress a girl? Did you start a band?
Don't put me on the spot.
No.
Don't put me on the spot. There's loads.
Did you
There's
ever
a
do
lot.
anything really embarrassing?
Yeah, I probably got on stage and sang at a holiday camp or something.
You say probably. Did you actually?
That's so specific. I probably got on stage and
I
sang.
probably got on stage and sang a Shakin' Stevens song called "This Old House."
Probably.
Hey, wait, we've got a stage. We've got microphones.
Yeah, probably. Dan,
You know I've never spoken to a girl.
I'm sure you've got a good story though, Gav.
Yeah, I once gave a card that I was trying to give to. I was 8 years old, and I was trying to give it to an 8-year-old, but I ended up.
Good to clarify.
But
That's key.
But I ended up by accident giving it to a 3-year-old, saying, "Can you give it to this girl?" The 3-year-old completely misunderstood, thought it was for herself, and then I had a teacher come to me like, "Why are you giving?
Oh my God.
Why are you giving Valentine's cards to 3-year-olds?"
So you're an 8-year-old pedo?
Why are you, sorry,
8-year-old. I
Eight-year-old
was a pedo when I
pedo?
was 8 years old.
I didn't know that was possible.
why are you giving it to a
You weren't even
3-year-old?
pubic.
What can a 3-year-old do?
Because I wanted her to give it to the 9-year-old.
Let's
the
fall in
8-year-old.
over.
Can we cut this? Cut this.
Well, we would have to cut out the Nintendo thing.
Feedback.
You don't know
Okay.
my world, mate. You don't know my
Feedback.
world.
Okay. So, question number 1.
Yeah.
No name.
So if you have any questions, bring them down, definitely, yeah.
Does Gav have any grooming tips for his magnificent beard?
Is that a real question?
Just read it out.
I thought you were taking the piss.
No, that's an actual question.
I use a variety of different products on it. I use beard moisturizer, which also moisturises your skin.
Tears of an
Worry about
8-year-old
that.
child.
Tears of an
3-year-old child. She was younger.
8.
yeah, a bunch of stuff. Just make sure you keep it clean. And if you ever get to a point where there's food in it, then you don't deserve to have a beard. So like, shave it off. That's my advice
many
for
now.
that. There's too many now.
Too many now. All right. This one says, please dye your hair pink. From
that about you?
From Jen.
But for you.
All of us. All of us.
All right, I can do that.
You didn't even mention how terribly good Max Payne was.
Oh yeah. Shit, I forgot about that. I completely forgot about Max Payne.
Terribly good.
No, it's awful.
New.
Really bad. Everything was in capitals. I was like, in the film or in the...
I'm doing a presentation on pure games journalism. All right,
On
just
pure?
checking that's not about us. Okay, so I was wondering whether you had any examples of pure games journalism.
Pear.
You
Poor.
know where I'm from.
Poor.
You know where I'm from.
I mean, poor.
I mean what I mean. Poor. Cheers, Andrew. I think
Put us in a tricky spot there.
we'll probably tell you in the bar afterwards.
Yeah, we can't.
I definitely think you should check out Okai the New is Gaming's Greatest Scot.
One thing I definitely will say is, if there's a games journalist that you particularly maybe don't like, add them on PS4, PSN or Xbox, because now and again they'll just say yeah, and then you can check how long they've actually been playing games for. And a lot of games journalists do not play that game for very long.
So you unlocked that thing, did you? I don't think you can if you've only played it for 2 hours.
Oh, now this is a cracking question.
Okay.
What is the best game adaptation of a film?
The Toy Story games. The Toy Story games were brilliant.
Alien Isolation.
Pardon? Yeah, Alien Isolation, that's well good.
But what?
Toy Story 2.
Okay.
Toy Story 3 is really, really good.
Harry Potter.
Because Toy Story 3 basically invented the like the toy box thing that now Disney Infinity uses.
Ripped off, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was the same. Must be the same people. They've just gone. You've come up with a really good thing there, and like ripped it off. So yeah, I think that Alien Isolation. I think it's just brilliant because that's one of those things that just takes the world and makes something super interesting with it. But other than that, like the games that usually go along with films, never very good.
Well, they've become. They're a joke now, but when I was playing games in the mid-'80s, I mean, every other game seems to be an adaptation of a film, and you would buy them. There was so much I bought. RoboCop, Terminator. There was just, and they were all just terrible side-scrolling platform games that just didn't really work. But you bought them. The Turtles arcade game was good back then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Die Hard Arcade as well is brilliant.
Dan, favourite?
Even though they're not very good, I enjoy a lot of the Spider-Man games because I like that idea of just being able to swing through New York, and that's quite a fun thing. The rest of the game around it is absolute trash.
Did we talk about this recently somewhere?
Probably.
Because I think
we're always talking about it.
Because I think you said you were in the minority, but I actually think those Activision Spider-Man games.
I remember sitting at my friend's house and we were literally just playing Spider-Man, going around New York, collecting little collectibles, climbing up buildings, going, "What are we doing?"
Climbing to like the highest point possible, and then
why don't we have any friends?
Yeah. I've got one that says, with the fall, inverted commas, of game trailers, how would IGN, a similar website, avoid the same pitfall that took that website from us? So basically saying, how are we going to make sure that we don't go out of business?
You don't have to read out every question.
No,
I'm just saying, that's why I put that down.
That is not our job.
It seemed like a conversation for the bar.
No, because I was worried, are we going out of business? Do they know something that we don't? Is that what it is? Oh, shit.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Let someone else worry about that.
That's
like the ads people. That's their job.
Alex's job, and that's why he's not here.
That's not our job.
He's at home worrying about it.
I got one from George Alexander asking about Street Fighter V's lack of content. What I will say is we've recorded this week's podcast already. Have a listen, because Dell talks about it a lot. So he's annoyed about it, and to just put it together, and Gav doesn't give a shit, as usual.
There you go, you can have that one.
Okay, keep going.
What is the worst film to video game adaptation? That's from Dave McKay.
Okay, so the opposite of...
Yeah.
all the ones I listed earlier from the 80s.
Super Mario
Brothers. E.T., I guess, is famously the worst, because the game was broken.
Yeah.
They had no time to put it together. They were given a month to make this game.
Yeah. If you've ever played Friday the 13th on the NES as well, that's awful. You think, oh, Friday the 13th, I love that. I'm going to get this game. Then you start playing, you'd be like, what's going on here? Like, who am I? And it's just grey buildings and blocks everywhere, and you have to collect other grey blocks. It's just like,
you're not seeing Friday the 13th, mate.
It's like, how have we got away with this?
No wonder he's incensed.
Yeah, I guess like a lot of those games that come out when they just whack them out. Like I think like any Minions games or anything like that. Like
Minions game.
Game Boy Advance had a lot of them. Like Game Boy Advance, it seems like they're just chucking out stuff. There's an Elf game, like a Will Ferrell Elf tie-in.
I know, we had to bloody play it for Christmas.
You two played it, didn't you?
There's a lot of Christmas games.
So we did this thing at Christmas.
And Gremlins.
Gremlins.
So we did this thing at Christmas where we played a different Christmas game for every day leading up to Christmas. It's fucking hell on earth by the end of it.
It was an idea that I had because I just started at the company and I was like, oh, you know, when you first start a company, like, I want to be keen. Like, I've got this new initiative and I did it. And by the end, I was like, I fucking don't want to work
Coming in
anymore.
on Sundays to play Elf.
Yeah.
Oh, what are we doing?
Like, we beat each other. I was like, Krupa, do you mind coming in on Sunday so we can play Gizmo versus Stripe on the Game Boy Advance, please?
I just got these visions of you putting an elf in the fire or something.
Oh, yeah. That's a good game, that is.
What was that?
I think it's called like Visceral Cleanup or something like that, yeah. Fucking amazing game. Like, really, really good.
I mean, I've got a question from someone that I'm not sure knows what the word abbreviation means.
That's the same guy, but yeah, good.
Dave, hello, mate. Give an alternative abbreviation for IGN.
FCT.
I. You've got to abbreviate it. It's I or G or N, really.
But it's written on that piece of paper upside down, so...
NGI. Done.
Also, like, I watched Zodiac again recently. Why is he writing the two different questions in two different types of handwriting?
Yeah, Dave. No, one's in capitals.
One's in capitals.
That's not in capitals.
Yeah,
It's like the end of the jinx.
What's he doing?
Dave, what's going on?
Dave, where are you? Right here. That's the guy that offers a drink. I'm fucking glad we said no. Christ, Dave. What have you got? Have you got any more?
You got ones you don't want to read out at this point.
It's like massive look, this is an incredibly valid question, but it's slightly off topic. But I think we should answer it.
Okay, we've got 4 or 5 minutes, so.
I think let's end on this one maybe. But it's a bit more on a tangent. But What the fuck is going on with Batman v Superman?
Oh, I said that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we don't normally have that language on the podcast, so you're going to have to bleep
We're
that.
doing editing anyway. So.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. I know that trailer with Doomsday looked awful, but I'm still really excited for it. Does anybody else feel like that? Yes! Yay! That's a good one guy.
That's Zack Snyder.
Zack, shut up.
He looked skinny in that photo, didn't he? He looked skinny. He's lost some weight, so there's something going
Because
on.
he's just been trawling through comments after that Doomsday trailer. It's like, oh fuck, what have I done?
Another F word.
I think we don't know what that film is. Maybe Zack Snyder doesn't know what that film is.
We know that it's probably going to have to be 5 hours long, at least. I think it's really interesting. It's got an R rating for the. I don't know if you saw that was announced that
for the Blu-ray.
the Blu-ray and DVD they're going to have a director's cut that's R rated. So that's interesting. There's going to be blood spilled.
Doomsday has no trousers on.
Yeah.
Just God,
No,
that as
they
well.
probably panicked this week and just paid a load of money to get Deadpool in to say the C word.
Yeah. At the end, Wonder Woman says the C word. Yeah, put that on Blu-ray.
I don't know. I'm kind of perversely most excited for that.
And it's
of
not long.
everything.
It's in the next 3 weeks, isn't it, or something?
And I didn't like Man of Steel either, and I don't think I've liked anything of Zack Snyder for ages. I feel like I'm going to go into that film going, yeah, oh god, all right, okay, I get what it is. Don't know. Anybody else?
We don't know. We don't know. No. Don't ask them because they've got no mics.
Oh yeah.
You've got to edit this stuff.
I don't care. It's fine. From Joe Matt, this is actually a really good question. He's scribbled it like Kevin Spacey from Seven, but it's fine.
Why are we having a go at people's handwriting?
I don't know. Which Metal Gear would you make into a movie? P.S. Metal Gear Solid 5 ending was perfect.
I think your handwriting's fine, Joe, for a start.
Which Metal Gear would I make into? I think 2. Like 2 makes a really good film. Like Snake Eater would be really good.
I'll go 11.
11.
I've not played it.
I kind of like. I really like the story for 4, even though it's kind of boring a little bit. I think that would make the best film. If you made that like Syriana, like one of those like boring. Like
Make it like
war films.
Syriana, but better.
Yeah, make it like that, but better. I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I think, again, like 1 would be good, like Metal Gear Solid, because it's single location.
Yeah.
Infiltrating one base. Have you seen?
You just don't like stress, do you? Like you're trying to think like
I
logistics.
don't like traveling in a movie. Where are we now? Somewhere else.
Not doing it.
How's he got that many suits with him?
Can
I
we
saw
film
the
it
back
all in
truck.
one warehouse?
Yeah, I like
I'm not
that,
doing
yeah.
it.
A prequel called Metal Gear Soft. Sorry.
I think I've seen that. All right, we got time for maybe 1 or 2 more.
Dan, it's on you.
Okay, Fraser. 3 kisses. Thank you, Fraser. Why do some people hate the new Star Wars so much?
Who hates it?
No one hates it.
Which 2?
Oh, he fucking hates it.
Fraser and someone probably. Is it? Why do you hate it? Say it and we'll say it back really quickly.
It was just 4 or 5. It was just 4 dates in 2006.
He says, I'm a big dumb idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. In case you couldn't pick that up then. Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting point. What's the next question? What's the next question?
I feel like we're going to end on that. You know? I feel bad. It's literally 7:30 on my phone.
Excellent.
So,
Let's do that then.
that's grim though, isn't it?
What?
But people here have got Man v Snake. to look
Excellent,
forward to. Actually,
yeah.
no one here cheered when I said it, so no one's watching it.
Christ.
You can maybe still buy tickets, I don't know, but if you can't see it another time. But thank you all for coming down. Thank you to the Glasgow Film Festival for having us back. Thank you to Emma for organising this room, which I think is awesome.
So good.
There's some great games to play over there. We're going to be in the bar through there if you want to have a drink with us. And yeah, as usual, to people listening, thank you. And people watching, thank you. And thank you.
Thanks, guys.